This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we are on Daf Yud Bet Amud Bet, 3 lines from the top, finishing off this part of the Mishnah that dealt with all of the unknowns when a person had Tumat Mikdash Kadashav. When a person, Scott, we're good?
Page, please.
I'm sorry, 12 Yud Bet Amud Bet 12b, the 3 lines from the top.
Thank you.
Okay. Darash Rav Nachman bar Chizda. Rav Nachman bar Chizda taught, Ein makitzin ba'olat ha'of. Okay, we discussed the idea of Kate's Mizbeach, which is like the dessert, so to speak, for the altar. The added sacrifices that go on to the altar. We call that Kate's Mizbeach. He says we do not utilize olat ha'of. An ola, of course, is an offering that's completely ascends, right? No part of it is eaten. And there also is that can be brought from an oath, from a bird, right? So when we use the money, right, when we wait until things get a blemish, and then we utilize that money for buying sacrifices, that will be for buying animals, not for olat ha'of. Amar Rava said to Rav Nachman bar, the son of Rav Chizda, ha burcha. That is a burcha. Rashi says that is something that was conjured from your heart, right? You're making that up. A fabrication. You're making that up, right? How do you know that? Where are you getting that from? Amalei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak responded to Rava, my burchata. What is this? Why do you contend that this is a fabrication? Ana amrita niale. I'm the one who said it. Umishmei de Rav Simi minarda amrita niale. And I was quoting none other than the great Rav Simi from Narda. The Amar Rav Simi min Narda, mutarot linedidvot tzibur azli, ve'ein olat of bitzibur. And he explained why. The motarot, the extra monies of animals that were blemished and got redeemed, and now you're using that money, that goes for a nidvat tzibur. That's considered to be a free will offering of the congregation. It's a communal free will offering. The ain olat of bitzibur, and we never find a communal offering of a bird brought as an ola. And therefore, if this is going to be a free will communal offering, it has to fit into the parameters of communal offerings. And communal offerings are never an olat of, an ascent offering of a bird. Okay. V'av Shmuel Savar Laha de Rav Yochanan. And Shmuel also agrees with that which Rav Yochanan said before. Rav Yochanan said before, the extra tamidin, those 4 tamidin, those 4 animals on the last day of the year. The Rabbi Shimon, according to Rabbi Shimon, who doesn't hold that the heart of the Beit Din makes a condition allowing us to redeem them, even when they're unblemished. So what happens with them? They go straight onto the altar as this communal free will offering, this case Mizbeach, and it does not need to go out to pasture, get a blemish, and then be redeemed. It can go as it is. It can be diverted, so to speak, from this communal offering that was meant for the communal obligation of the daily tamid, the daily consistent offerings, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. It can be diverted to communal voluntary offerings. Where do we see Shmuel holds that? Dam Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Shmuel, Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, Karbanot Sibur, the communal sacrifices, Sakin, the knife, Moshchatan pulls them, Lemashahain. The knife, meaning when they're slaughtered, that will determine exactly which type of communal offering will it be. I'm sorry? No. So over here, these four, right, when they're being slaughtered, they're going to be slaughtered for a communal free will offering, and that is fine. Even though originally they were designated for the communal obligatory daily offering, the sakin, the shchita, you had in mind that to use it not, these are the four leftovers, you're not going to use it for the communal daily obligation. I already use two for those. Okay, then we'll go for this communal free will offering. It doesn't matter when they're doing it. Right, right. It seems that it's only the obligatory ones have to be bought from this year's stuff. Right, and we find that, right? If I pledge, if I make a voluntary offering, right? Yeah, it's the obligatory that come from those communal funds have to come from the new funds. Whereas, let's say I decide I'm going to bring an offering, right? I say I'm going to bring an offering. How long do I have to bring it? I have 3 regalim, 3 holidays to bring this. Even though I might have decided to made that pledge in, before Nisan of this year, I got time to bring it. Why? Because it's only when it's coming from the communal funds. That's how we learn out that those funds need to be used for that temple calendar year's sacrifices. That's true. That's true. They were bought from communal funds, but they're not going as obligatory. Right, the knife is diverting it according to this. Tanya Nami Hachi, and we learn the same thing also in a Braita. Umoda Rabbi Shimon agrees, admits the seir. If we're talking about a seir, okay, this Tanya Nami Hachi is going back on what we said much earlier. Remember, we quoted the Mishnah where Rabbi Shimon had said that each of the 3 seirim comes for a different atonement for a different mishap. The seir of Yom Kippur, that's when I did not know that I was tamei. I entered Mikdash or ate Kodesh, and then I realized, and then someone said to me, Siner, I saw you in the base of Mikdash. I said, yeah, it was beautiful. So what were you doing there? I said, what do you mean? I was in the base of Mikdash. Yeah, but you were with me, right, 5 days before when we went into that house. Didn't you know that the house was tummy, that there was a person that died over there? I didn't know. Right, Yom Kippur atones for that. The seir, the he-goat brought on Yom Kippur atones for that. The he-goat brought on the holidays, that is when I did not know in the beginning, and I've not found out afterwards. And the seir, the he-goat brought on Rosh Chodesh, that is a Kohen who was tahor, who was pure, who ate food, sacrificial food that was impure. So Shimon had said each one of those, each holiday one, be it Rosh Chodesh, holidays, Yom Kippur, comes for atonement for a different mishap. So then they asked them, so what happens? Can you bring, let's say you had your Rosh Chodesh one, and then you lost it. You brought another one, and then you found it. Can it be brought now on one of the holidays? He said yes. They said, but how can that be? They're coming for different atonements. And he said that all under that same umbrella atonement. What's the umbrella atonement over here? Tumat Mikdash V'Kadashav. A impurity, a defilement of the Mikdash or its holy aspects. Tani Nami Hachi, Umoda Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon agrees, admits. The seir, when it comes to one of these he-goats, Shimlo karav beregel, if you didn't bring it on the regel, it was lost, it was replaced, and then it was found, you karev Rosh Chodesh. Okay, so you could use that one on Rosh Chodesh. Shimlo karav Rosh Chodesh, if there was a Rosh Chodesh one that got away, you karev Yom Kippurim, you can bring it on Yom Kippur. Shimlo karav Yom Kippurim, if the Yom Kippur one got away, you karev beregel, you can bring it 4 days later, 5 days later on Sukkot. Shimlo karav beregel, a regel one got away. Regel zeh, if you didn't bring it on this regel, no problem. You can raise the regel acher. You can bring it on a different holiday. You could, right? If one of them was not brought for whatever reason, now you can bring it on the next available one, even though it's Rosh Chodesh to regel, regel to regel, regel to Yom Kippur, etc., etc. Why is that? Achar shemitchilato lo ba ela lechaper al mizbeach ha-chitzon. Since it's coming to atone on that outer mizbeach, right? So therefore, it's all under that same umbrella, even though it's not the same exact one, right? So too, the ola that was hukdash for an ola can be brought for a different type of ola. These 4 that were hukdash, that were sanctified for the daily obligatory, can be brought for the communal daily obligatory, can be brought for the communal free will offering, right? It can go, just like that, we can go chatat to chatat, we can also go sin offering to sin offering, we can go ola to ola, ascent offering to ascent offering. Extra. Go back. Yeah. Okay. Va'al zadon. Now we're still going back to our first Mishnah, right? And we have another daf and a half. 14a is where we end up finishing this parah. So we had a Mishnah that we began here that was a full daf, right? 2a and 2b, right? All besides one the last 2 lines. So the next thing the Mishnah said was, let's say a person deliberately defiled. I knew that I was tummy, but I'm going in anyhow, right? Forget the optics. I'm going in, right? I'm going in when I'm tummy. Take this, God, right? I know that I'm eating this, even though I know that I'm tummy. What are you going to do about it, right? So this was b'mezi. Seir hanase bifnim. The goat that is brought inside, the seir, right? And we drew the lots. We discussed this yesterday. We drew the lots. One is Lazazel, one goes off the cliff, the other one, the blood goes into the Holy of Holies. That one atones for that, and Yom Kippur together are mechaper. The Gemara asks me not immediately, from where do we see that the seir, the he-goat offering that goes inside the mikdash itself, onto the inner altar, that atones for this? The Tanarabban, as the rabbis taught, the pasuk says, "V'chiper ala kodesh," it'll atone for the kodesh, for the sanctified place or items. Metumot b'nei Yisrael, from the impurities of b'nei Yisrael. Umi pish ehem l'kol chatotam, from their pishaim. We'll soon see pishaim means deliberate sins. L'kol chatatam, which means inadvertent sins. A chet is an inadvertent. A pesha is deliberate. Pishaim elu ha-mordim. Those are the ones who are marad, rebelling. I'm doing this deliberately. V'cheinu omer, and we find that term used in that context in the prophets, Kings 2. Melech Moab Pasha bi. The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Pasha is a rebellion. The Omer, and it says, Az Tipsha Livana Ve'etahi. Livana rebelled at that time. So when the Torah says Pishaim, it means deliberate, rebellious nature sort of sin.
Is it all sins? Like if somebody stole something?
No. We're talking about Mikdash.
Just things related to the.
You enter the Mikdash when you were Tameh, you ate things that were, when you were Tameh, you ate sacrificial things. That's what it's dealing with. Correct. So we're going to deal with that a little bit. Chataot elu hashgagot. That is shogeg, unaware of the prohibition, right? Inadvertent. The Cheno Omer, and it says nefesh ki techete bishgaga. If a nefesh, the soul, a person sins bishgaga shogeg. Again, that is in it. So we see chet is linked with shogeg, unaware, inadvertent. Then the Mishnah said, on the other averot, other transgressions of the Torah, kalot, the light ones, chamurot, the heavy ones, zidonot, deliberate, shagagot, inadvertent, hoda, aware, lo hoda, unaware, asay, do's, that a person didn't do, lota says, don't, that a person did, Kritot, don't, for which the Torah says there'll be kares, the spiritual cutting off. Don't, and which the Torah says mitat beitin, there will be capital punishment. Seir hamishtaleyach mechaper. That the seir hamishtaleyach, the goat that goes off the cliff, will atone for that, and we're going to break that down now. The Gemara asks, Hainu kalot, Hainu asay, velo ta'aseh, chamurot, right? We said the light ones, the heavy ones, and then we listed the do's and the don'ts. Those are presumably the light ones, and the don'ts or kares, or the don'ts or capital punishment, those are the severe, strict, serious, heavier ones. So why do we have all this redundancy in the Mishnah? Hainu kalot, you already said kalot, that is asay velo ta'aseh, the do's and the don'ts. You said chamurot, the heavy, strict ones. Hainu, that is kritot to mitot beitin, that's kares, those infractions for which you're liable for the spiritual cutting off, kares, or capital punishment. Hoda, and then we mentioned mezid and shogeg, deliberate and inadvertent, and then you said hoda, he knew about it. Well, he knew about it. Isn't that just repeating, reiterating when it said mezid? Lo hoda did not know, was not aware of that. Isn't that simply reiterating when you said hainu shogeg? So why do we have all of these overlaps over here? Rabbi Yehuda explains, Hachi ka'amar. The Mishnah is coming to explain what we meant by kalot and chamurot, the light ones and the heavy ones. That's the heading, and then the Mishnah is explaining all that is included. Al shar aveiros shebetorah, for all the other aveiros of the Torah, bein kalot, bein chamurot, whether they're the light ones or the heavy ones. Bain, kisha'asan b'shogeg, whether you did those light or heavy ones, or heavy ones, b'shogeg, inadvertently. Bain sha'asan b'mezid, or whether you did those inadvertent ones, those light and heavy ones, b'mezid, deliberately. Otan sha'asan b'shogeg, and now let's break it down further. So we had the kalot and the chamurot. You had you did it b'shogeg, inadvertent. You had you did it b'mezid. Within the shogeg category, otan, those sha'asan b'shogeg that were done inadvertently, bain nodalo sveikan, whether you were aware of this suffix, of this doubt, meaning you ate a burger, right? And it might have been from OC Kosher, it might have been from In-N-Out Burger, right? There's a suffix there. Whether you knew that this was a suffix, a doubt, bein lo nodalo sveikan, right? Or whether you did not know that it was this suffix. The Eluhain kalot. What are the light ones? Aseh and lo ta'aseh. Those are the do's and the don'ts. Elohim chamurot, and which are the heavy ones? Kritot and mitot beitin. Now, this does not mean, oh, so the tzedek goes off the cliff, right? So that atones for all of the things, even capital punishment. So it doesn't mean that, oh, we open up death row at that point, right? Right? What it means is that along with the mita, right, will atone for that person. Yeah. So correct. Yes, it was very willful on the part. Yeah, we've had, unfortunately, tragically, we've had a number of situations of certified kosher institutions who were cheating, and we had that in Muncie also. Terrible. Okay, yeah. So look, there's no carbon that we can bring nowadays, and it was b'shogeg, right? And the people were going out of their way to go to a kosher place and paying the higher prices of kosher meat, right, in order to pad the pockets of these nefarious characters, right? So, I would imagine, I mean, who am I to speak on behalf of God? But I would imagine that the people are not going to be held responsible at all. How about their dishes and all those things, right? So, certain things can be koshered. Certain things cannot really be koshered, or typically we don't kosher them. And because of the tremendous loss that this would have incurred for many families who are not wealthy families, so even China and things like that, they were told that the psak, the halachic ruling was you can rely on the more lenient opinions that we don't normally rely on, and they could just be immersed in boiling hot water, and you're good to go. Yeah. Very often, when there is a big financial loss, that's a reason not to break halacha. But if you normally have a stringency and we rely on, we follow the stricter opinions, then that's called the shas hadchak, extenuating circumstances. There we can rely on the more lenient opinions. When it came, let's say, to Shemitah during the early years, Shemitah is the sabbatical year, during the early years of pre-state Israel and early years of the state of Israel. So then those who wanted to keep Shemitah, if they would keep it in the firmest way, then it would have been a real concern about would there be food? Yeah, living in this. Yes. There are many kibbutzim and moshavim that were religious that were started earlier, right? So there, the Chazon Ish, right, taught, which leniencies you can, right? It was very, very lenient. It was this leniency, that opinion. Normally we go with a consensus opinion, not the dat's yachid, not an individual, but he allowed them and directed them to follow those lenient opinions.
produce of the land.
No, it's the land. Yeah,
It's the land.
it's not the political government state. I don't know. Yeah, 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 yeah. Lose a lot of weight. Crash diet. Yeah, I don't know. Gemara asks, "Hi asay, hey chidami." This asay, this mitzvah you were supposed to do that you did not do, that Yom Kippur atones for that. What's the case? Idolo avad teshuva. If he has not done teshuva, meaning he does not regret not having done that, he remains in his state. I don't want to do that. Well, zevach rishon toeva. Then the offering brought by those who are willingly going against is considered to be a toeva. That's an abomination. It's not acceptable, right? You know, bringing the whole idea of the sacrifice was that it was meant to be along with feelings of I've got to raise my game. I've got to improve. Ida avad teshuva. So therefore, this communal sacrifice is not going to work for him. Ida avad teshuva, and if the person did teshuva, call yoma nami. Then you don't need Yom Kippur. Every day also, you do teshuva, you're good to go. To Tanya, as we learned, Avar mitzvot asay, a person transgressed a mitzvot asay, did not do something one was supposed to do, but asa teshuva, and he did teshuva, he regretted that, and accepted in the future to do properly. Lo zaz misham, he doesn't move from there. Ad shemochlin lo. Right before he even moves a centimeter, what happens? Mochlin lo. The person is forgiven. So what is this case where Yom Kippur is going to atone for non-performance of a mitzvah asay? If the person is standing in his I'm not going to do it, then the sacrifice should not cover, right? Presumably does not cover him. And the person has already done teshuva, so then he doesn't need Yom Kippur. The teshuva alone carries him. Amar Rabbi Zera answers. Now we're at the top of 13a. Yud Gimel Amar Aleph. Amar Rabbi Zera ba'omeid b'mardo. We're talking about a person who has not done teshuva. Omeid, he's standing b'mardo in his rebellion. He's standing in his rebellion. Right? You asked, if that's the case, then why should this Yom Kippur help him? Rebbe, and that our Mishnah, it goes according to the opinion of Rebbe. Titania, as we learned in a Braita, Omer Rebbe says, I'll call Avero Chepetor. Rebbe has a radical view on Yom Kippur. He says on all Averot of the Torah, all transgressions of the Torah, Bein Asa Teshuva, Bein Lo Asa Teshuva, where the person did Teshuva, repented, or did not, Yom Kippurim Mechaper. Yom Kippur will atone for all except for Chutz May, except for Porek Ol, a person who literally casts off the yoke, meaning Rashi says Kofer Bi'ikar, he denies the existence of God. Umigale Panim B'Torah, a person who comes to Divrei Torah in order with chutzpah, with audacity, in order to upend it, right? To mock it. Umeifir Brit Bibasar, or a person who annuls his flesh covenant, person who gets the Gemara talks about stretching the foreskin to make it appear that I'm not circumcised. She'im asa teshuva, for those things, if a person did teshuva, Yom Kippurim mechaper, Yom Kippur will atone. Ve'im lav, but if not, ein Yom Kippurim mechaper, then Yom Kippur does not atone. But besides that, your regular run-of-the-mill mitzvah aseh or lo taseh, Rebbe says, if you are still in your state of rebellion, Yom Kippur atones. My Tama de Rebbe, what is the reasoning of Rebbe? What is he basing that on? Titania, because we learned Ki Davar Hashem Baza, the word of God he has disgraced. Who's that included? Who's that referred to? Zeh haporek. Oh, that's a person who denies the very existence of God. Umigale panim batorah, and one who degrades the Torah, right? Brings disgrace upon the Torah by mocking it and trying to undermine it. That mitzvato hafer, and a person that his mitzvah he has annulled. That's Hamefir Brit Basar. That is one who, like we said, who annuls the covenant of the flesh. Hikaret, tikaret. The pasuk says a double term. Karet, karet. Cut off, he shall be cut off. Rebbe says, what does that mean? He karet lifnei Yom Kippurim. He has this karet on him prior to Yom Kippur. He karet la'achar Yom Kippurim, and that din, that judgment remains on the person even after Yom HaKippurim. That's what Rebbe learns out, that for these things, Yom Kippur alone, unless a person does teshuvah, will not cleanse, will not atone. Yachol, I might think, afilu asa teshuvah, even if the person did teshuvah, then Yom Kippur, right, or he will not be forgiven. Talmud Lomar, the pasuk concludes, avona ba. The sin is there, is on that person. Meaning, lo amarti, I only said that the kares will remain even after Yom Kippur, ela b'zman she'avona ba, only if the sin remains. But if the sin does not remain, then if the person did teshuvah, then he will be forgiven. The Rabbanan who say that all mitzvot, not just these mitzvot, but it's all mitzvot which have this requirement of teshuvah on Yom Kippur. And we don't say that Yom Kippur, the day itself, will automatically cover it and cleanse. We don't say that. So what do? So according to the Rabbanan, in what way are these mitzvot that the pasuk is talking about, Devar Hashem Bazah, mitzvah hefer, right? There we said there's a special din by those. What is the special severity that we find specifically by those? For Rabbanan, hikaret, because again, according to Rabbanan, all mitzvot, it's only if you do teshuvah the Yom Kippur helps. On its own, it doesn't just wipe clean. So what is unique about these three that we said hikaret, tikaret? For Rabbanan, they would say hikaret ba'olam hazeh, right? One will be cut off in this world, tikaret ba'olam haba, tikaret even in the world to come, right? Normally, death atones for many things, not for these. Avona ba. Avona ba, the sin is upon the person. She'im asa teshuva v'meit. If the person did teshuva and then died, mita mimareket, then death and that teshuva will atone for even these three very egregious aveirot.
Somebody atone for
How do you atone for adultery? Right? So, yeah. So,
are you forgiven? It's not one of the three here.
I can atone as best as I can. I can't undo the past, right? A person murdered someone else, we can't bring that person back to life. We can atone as much as we can. We can do as much as we can do. A case of adultery, right? So, adultery is a man with a married woman, right? If a child was born from that, the child is a mamzer. We can't erase that, right? As a result of this, a man having relations with a married woman, he has now made the married woman and her husband prohibited to one another. No. A married man, a married man, according to the Torah, right? A man can have more than one wife. Okay? A woman can only have one husband. So a married man having relations with another woman is not necessarily Torah level adultery. Okay? Not condoning, not suggesting, right? But it's not Torah adultery because feasibly he could have more than one wife. Adultery is a man, single or married, having relations with a married woman. Okay? So that is the adultery, and it affects her marriage. It affects her. He doesn't need. Marriage is irrelevant. Again, adultery has nothing to do with a man being married or not. The adultery is being with a married woman, right? If a married woman willingly has relations with another man, she and her husband are now prohibited from being with one another. His punishment, depending what it is, so it's kares, it could be a capital punishment. Right, well, it's capital punishment. We know that. We had that before, right? Capital punishment. Let's say there were no witnesses. Let's say there weren't two witnesses. Let's say they weren't warned. Let's say they're witnesses, but they weren't warned. Right? We had this before, right? A Beit Din that killed once in 7 years, right? The executor was considered to be a murderous Beit Din. The other opinion said once in 70 years, right? It was very hard to actually put someone to death, right? With the warnings, with the witnesses and the warnings.
Who, when they get married, they say, well, the condition of this marriage, I will give a conditional get if my wife ever commits adultery right before the adultery, we're no longer married. We're talking about, what's in the heart to get these people to change the covenant around. Can it also be used for cases like this?
So that's going to be problematic, right? Because he'll never be allowed to be with his wife. Maybe it's a minute before adultery. Maybe she's a divorced woman, right? So, wait. So he wants to give. So he's saying to his wife, "Sweetheart, I love you. You love me. but I think you'd be committing adultery. So I'm going to give you a get now, a conditional get. Just in case you haven't committed adultery, everything's going to be fine. And good luck to the happy couple. Huh? I don't know.
Rabbi,
Yes, over.
what if, so you just laid down some conditions, but what if he was a single man, not married, and he had a relationship with a married woman, however, he did not know she was married. She did not say she was married. So if he didn't know, what is the implication?
So that's a shogeg. That's a person who inadvertently, right? I mean, it's not, like he actually turned on the light on Shabbos. He knew he was having relations with a woman outside of marriage, right? He didn't know that she was.
No, he didn't know she was married at all. Let's just say not at all.
Yeah. So that was a shogeg of a serious sin of an adultery, right? Yeah. Which could have been avoided, right? So, right, presumably she didn't put a gun to his head. Yeah. All right, man. Yashikach, everybody, and a good Shabbos. And we'll pick up over here on Monday, 7:30 Monday, because davening is at 8:30, so we'll start 7:30 sharp. Davening's 8:30 on Monday. You've been warned. Informed. Okay, good Shabbos, everybody.
Good
Till
Shabbos.
6:30 text on Monday. Good Shabbos, good Shavua Tov Art.